Buck Rogers, Planet of Zoom, released in 1983 for Colecovision. Now there's a name I haven't said around this space in a long while, so we're long overdue, I think. So yes, Buck Rogers, pulp hero from back in the day. He got comic books, TV shows, things of that nature. It was a thing before my time, by the way. Never saw the show or the pulps, so my familiarity with the property is fairly minimal. But anyway, we have Planet of Zoom, which is a Sega arcade game also known as Zoom 909 that would inspire the creation of Space Harrier, which in turn would inspire the creation of Star Fox. It's on Wikipedia, so it must be true. Anyway, Planet of Zoom got ported over to various platforms, including today's subject matter ColecoVision. There's also an Atari 2600 version that we'll look at next week, but anyway, this is a third-person shooter thing where you're controlling Buck Rogers and his flying spaceship, and you're flying through 6 different sections, shooting down UFOs and trying not to get shot down yourself or crashing into anything else for that matter. The first section has you running down a trench, like that one movie there. Second section takes place in deep space. Third section takes place on the planet's surface. Fourth section is another trench run, but now you have to avoid walls coming your way. Fifth segment takes place in an asteroid field. And then you have the sixth and final section, which has you facing off against the command mothership boss thing. And once that's been destroyed, you move on to the next round, where the cycle begins all over again. It's a fairly simple premise on paper that unfortunately is hampered by a lot of technical issues that, if you had played this back in the day, you were willing to overlook because you were much younger and more easily impressed by the pseudo 3D graphics, and then you grow up and realize that you were a lot more forgiving when you were younger. Let's be fair, Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom isn't particularly good. The game does provide you with a variety of stages for you to overcome, but all that means is different varieties of jank awaiting you. Your spaceship only travels a certain segment of the screen. It's difficult to gauge whether your shots are landing because depth perception is a foreign concept here, so you're just firing constantly hoping you land a shot eventually. The collision detection is somewhat suspect, particularly in regards to the blue rocket things that could somehow kill you with its invisible aura that's about 5 to 10 meters or whatever. I do find that if you keep the ship grounded, you have a better chance of shooting down targets, but that means having to pull your stick back constantly because if you let it go, your ship slowly drifts back towards the center, so you're always trying to maintain position by holding the stick wherever you need the ship to be. Now again, being fair, despite that little quirk, controlling Buck Rogers is not bad. You're mostly moving the ship with the stick and firing your blasters with the side buttons. And all these function well enough, but there's only so much good, solid controls can do to salvage a game that is so much jank going against it. They probably should have called this Planet of Jank because there ain't much zooming around here. For what it's worth, Buck Rogers is a decent looking game when you're looking at it from still images. The UFOs look fairly decent despite its largely white colors. The scenery ain't too bad looking, your ship is fine. But in motion, the game suffers from a jank frame rate, some rather suspect scaling effects, and some perception issues as well. You have a shadow on your ship, so kinda sorta help you out with the altitude, but nobody else does. The sprites, like I said, kind of fairly basic looking, and again, there's some nice designs like the command ship at the end of the round, but it's the technical bits, the choppy frame rate, the janky scaling, that really harms Planet of Zoom's chances here. Oh well, at least the sound output isn't too bad. You've got an annoying humming and whistling background noise that pokes at your soul, but you can nullify that with constant weapons fire and explosions, which at least sound nice enough by Coleco standards. There is also a jingle or two that plays. They sound fine, I guess. Overall, Buck Rogers' Planet of Zoom on ColecoVision is one of those games where you had to be at the right age at the right time to really get the most out of this, because in any other context, the game's not very good. And just to put it out there is a slightly more updated version of the game on Coleco's Atom computer that had more bits to it, but I can't imagine that running any better. For what it's worth, the game is playable to a degree. If you could put up with the technical deficiencies, there is something of a fun game buried in the jank, but there are better versions of Buck Rogers on other platforms and certainly better games on ColecoVision that are more worthy of your time. Planet of Zoom, unfortunately, is a relic of its day. It belongs in a museum.